Hi guys, welcome to Learn Tech from Zero. Today we'll be covering further CCNA topic. So let's begin with today's topic. So today's topic is three-tier network architecture. We have already covered two-tier, so if you have missed out, watch the previous video. So let's begin with three-tier network architecture. So two-tier and three-tier network architecture, this is mainly for designing LAN, a local area network. So LAN is a private area network. That's something that you can control. If you're new to this video and if you're new to this channel, I would highly suggest you to check our other videos. You should be watching everything from scratch to understand everything that I say. You need to know LAN, router, layer 2, layer 3 switches, WAN, MAC addresses, IP addresses. You need to know those terms and how they work to actually understand network architecture. So I will not go into too much detail. So if you want this whole explanation in details, you can go to Learn Tech from Zero, click on CCNA, and you can find everything in greater details, and not everything is necessary for the exam. So this topic here, everything that I have explained here is not necessary for exam, but if you understand and read everything, you will have a really good understanding in good details. And also at the end, I have 10 questions, like quizzes that you can try, and then you can go through them and then test your knowledge with the multiple choice questions. So let's start with today's topic. In in networking architecture, so like for example a three-tier networking architecture, this is mainly implemented in big companies or enterprises where you have to connect different buildings, different floors. So if you need to manage a big network within a LAN, then you need a three-tier architecture. So this is how it works. I will just give you a quick overview of this whole architecture. So if you have any questions, you can leave a comment and I will explain it to you. All right, let's just begin with the simple explanation, which is, so we have three layers, one, two, three, in the networking architecture. So access layer, so these are basically layer 2 switches. So like for example, if you're using an Ethernet connection to connect to the internet at work, you will be connecting directly to the access layer. So normally you must have heard patch panels. So patch panels are usually in the server room, and the cables are directly coming to the walls, like the wall socket that you have. So you normally plug your Ethernet cable to the wall, and then it's connected directly to the patch panel, and the patch panels are connected to the access layer. So this is how you basically access internet. You are connected directly to the access layer. You can either connect it directly with an Ethernet cable, or you are mostly connected through a patch panel. All right, and then the one above, so the one above is the distribution layer. So these are layer 2 switches, these are layer 3 switches, and this is mostly layer 3 switches, but it can also be a very high level router. So but mostly it's layer 3 switches. So layer 2 switch, layer 3 switch, layer 3 switches. So usually access layer switches, the one that you connect to, the end devices that connect to, they are mainly connected to at least or maximum 2 distribution switches. So you can see that this access switch is connected to this one and this one. This one is connected to the first one and the second one. So they are connected to 2 distribution. This is for redundancy. If one of them shuts down or if there is a failure, the other one will take over. So that's the distribution layer. And then distribution layer are connected to all core switches. So if we have, let's say, 8 distribution switches, they will be, all of those 8 distribution switches will be connected to all core switches. This is for connecting different areas. You don't need to know too much in details to understand three-tier networking architecture for the CCNA exam. You just need to know what devices are in those 3 layers, how they function, and what they do in general. So this is what you need to know. So if you just go through the explanation that I have on the website, it should give you a everything that you need to know. But my job is to basically explain you the concept in very simple and easy language, so you can pick up the concept and then you carry it from there. And also I'm there to help you answer your questions, so you can leave a comment. So the purpose, let's now talk about the purpose. So the core switches, they normally connect different buildings, so different floors. So let's say let's say there is one building and it has 7 floors. So in those 7 floors there could be one distribution or 2 distribution switches in each floor, or let's say 3 floors are using 2 distribution switches and the rest of the 4 floors are using the other 2 distribution switches. If it's confusing to you, don't worry. This is for people who want to know a bit more extra details, so you can ignore that if you don't understand. All right, so what I was saying is, those different floors have different distribution switches, and they are normally connected to the core switches. So the core switches will be connected to all distribution switches. So this is why they connect different buildings and different floor. Now let's talk about the purpose. So the access layer, so this is something that you need to know for the exam. So whatever I'm just about to explain. So access layer, this is where you connect your end devices like your printers, computers, etc., mobile phones, servers, etc. So you connect your end devices. If you don't know what end devices or endpoints are, you can watch our other videos. So you have to connect end devices to access layer. Those, and then it doesn't on the access layer, it just normally you can create VLANs. You can create which port, like, you know, the access points has like ports meant like 20-30 ports. You can shut them down, you can open them, etc. You can also create VLANs in that switch, the virtual local area network, which we will cover in greater details later on. That's it. So this is the purpose of the access layer, just so that end users can connect, and also this one normally passes all the traffic to the distribution layer. What distribution layer does is it does all the policy making. So it will check, basically it will tag the VLAN ID. So if the different VLANs are talking to each other, it will tag the VLAN ID. It will control ACL, so it's access control list. So it can control those ports, those switch ports, the ports that the physical ports that you connect your Ethernet cable to. So it can control those ports, like it can say this port will not allow certain IP addresses, this port will not allow certain the port numbers, the logical port numbers, etc. So this is, and for quality of services, to give priority to voice and video data than other normal traffic data. So this is where all the decisions making, policy, and security, everything happens here. And at the core, it doesn't do any decision making for them. So this is only for fast internet. So all the decisions are made here, okay? And let's say different buildings and different floors have different distribution switches, and what they're doing is they're trying to communicate between different floors and different buildings. So what it will do is, because they are in separate areas, so you don't want to do everything on the same layer 3 switches. You want to, if you have like large number of users, data, computers, if it's a massive environment, you don't want to like overload everything on those distribution layer. In small um, companies or small businesses, distribution layer acts as a core layer as well. It's called collapsed layer. I have already explained in the previous video, two tier. So in the two tier networking architecture, the distribution layer is also a core layer. So it can basically send traffic between different buildings and VLANs. But in bigger environments where there's a lot of data, a lot of users, a lot of buildings and floors, you don't want to make your distribution switches do all the work. That's where the core switches come in. So what distribution layer will do is it will tag all the data, like where it needs to go, and it will check, it will basically tell how it should be going, how those traffic should work, etc. We will cover everything in greater details later on. And then the core switches, what they do is they don't check anything, no securities. What they normally do is they just move data between different buildings and different floors very quickly. So that's the purpose of this core layer. So let's just finish the explanation for now. Let's move into another photo so that I can just give you a bit more so that this becomes a bit clearer to you. So you can see that this is one of the designs. You can create different designs. It's not always specific to one design. So this is one of the three-tier architecture. You can see that this building has 7 floors, and you can see that 3 floors, the 7, 6 and 5, 5, 6, 7, these 3 floors are connected to 2 distribution switches. And then for 1, 2, 3, 4, those 4 floors are connected to 2 distribution switches. So you basically connect to those access switches to access internet, and then it passes the traffic here to the distribution, and this is where it tags all the data. It checks for ACL, quality of service, everything, which we will cover in greater details later on. And then you can see that these are different floors and different distribution switches, so that one distribution switch is not taking or doing everything. So these, when you can see that 2 of them are working for like 3 floors, you can see, which means is one of them is working and the other one is redundant. So if one of them fails, the other one will take over. So you can see that this distribution, these are different floors, they're connected to the core. So let's say floor 7 wants to speak to floor 1. What it will happen is it will go to the distribution, right? And then it will tag, it will do all this policy checking and security and everything, and then it will just pass it to the core, so that the core quickly sends it to the floor 1. So this is an easy way to explain you how a 3-tier architecture works. Let me give you another example. Floor 3, a user wants to send a message to floor 6. He's connected to this switch, and then it will send the traffic to the distribution. This is where all the checks will happen, and then the distribution will send it to the core for quickly sending it to floor 6. Now let's say if the same floor, if let's say floor 1 and floor 2, which are connected to the same distribution switches, they want to talk to each other. So now that they are on connected to the same distribution switch, right? what will happen is it doesn't need to go to the core, because these two distribution switches are connected directly with this access switch. So what will happen is, if let's say floor 1 wants to speak to floor 2, it will go to the distribution and it will come back through the distribution to floor 2, because it doesn't need to go to the core, because the main purpose of the core is it connects different buildings and different floors. But this one is in the same, even though these are on the different floors, but they're connected to the same distribution switch, so it doesn't necessarily need to go to the core. So the same distribution switch will do the work. I hope it makes sense. If you have any questions, just leave a comment, and I will finish it for now. If you have any questions, just leave a comment. I will make sure that I explain it to you. And if you want to learn in greater details and completely free, just go to Learn Tech from Zero, click on CCNA, and then you will have everything that you need to know for the exam in greater details. If you just click on any of the topics, you will find everything explained to you. So thanks for your time, and I will see you next time.